I don't talk a ton of preseason baseball, spring training baseball. Doug Gottlieb, by the way, grew up a huge Angels fan, joining us via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, brought to you by Mercedes, the best or nothing. You know, it's funny about this. Yesterday, Harold Reynolds, listen, I'm not supporting the Astros. I'm not. But I do think accuracy matters. And I do think Harold Reynolds did a great job yesterday saying this idea that Jose Altuve crossed the plate, ran to the dugout, changed his shirt, and he went back and he broke it down and he goes, no, he celebrated for like 6 minutes with the team. My takeaway on this stuff, Astros cheated, got caught, suspend them all you want. But, Doug, baseball's history is we won't let you in the Hall of Fame. The guys won't vote you in. But we don't take away hardware. We don't. So I'm okay with what Rob Manfred's doing. You?
I am not. And I think that the reason we keep the steroid guys that got caught out of the Hall of Fame is the same reason we should put an asterisk, at least, by the Astros World Series. Because it's symbolic. We don't take away the money or the home run titles for Barry Bonds. We don't take away anything that they accomplished, even though they accomplished it under false pretenses. But we do take away the symbolic element of being recognized as one of the greats of all time in Cooperstown. The same thing should occur here for the team. That's where I think Rob Manfred swung and missed. Look, I actually have sympathy for Manfred because I think he walked into this a lot like Roger Goodell, maybe even more transparent than Goodell, with the idea of conducting an open and honest investigation as to something that he read in The Athletic because Mike Fiers, a former pitcher, outed his team.
Yeah.
Or outed his former team. And when he handed down the punishment, just like when Roger Goodell handed down the punishment for Ray Rice, that was actually the 2-game suspension, the longest suspension anyone had ever received for domestic violence in the history of the NFL. And he had a pretrial diversionary hearing. Didn't go to trial. He wasn't found guilty of it. You know, it kind of went away. And, of course, the video hadn't come out. And what happened was there was a public backlash, and they kept backtracking. Okay, well, now it's 6 games. It's indefinite. And the NFL finally smartly created this commissioner's exempt list where they just suspend you indefinitely and then they figure it out so that there isn't this public sentiment. There isn't this Twitter mob, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened with Manfred. Manfred came out. He had an investigation. I don't think that he needed to grant full immunity towards all of these players, but he had a press conference yesterday where he's like, look, I couldn't get him to say anything until I granted them full immunity, and only then did we get them to talk about 2017. And he punished the Astros worse than he had punished anybody or anybody been punished in the history of the league. But it's just not enough. And here's the big thing. You mentioned steroids. I don't think the steroid era would occur now because players feel emboldened to speak their mind. Now, maybe it's because of these guys feel that they're clean and the Astros are dirty and they stole their World Series. But I just think it's this generation of athletes, because of Twitter and the gram and every other way in which they've been able to speak their voice for the last decade or so, they're speaking out against other current players. That doesn't happen. You and I know the history of Major League Baseball. That union is the tightest union in all of professional sports, maybe in all of American business. And for union members to be fighting with union members over their accomplishments, we haven't seen that. And I don't think Manfred could have planned for this to happen. I thought he thought the players would stay united. But that hasn't happened, and now it's spiraling out of control. And we still got another month before the season begins. He's got to find a way to dampen these flames.
And by the way, in terms of immunity, our government takes mobsters who have killed people and gives them immunity because to find a rat, you got to talk to a rat. And so our own government struggles with what Doug's talking about. To get information, you often have to give immunity. Manfred did, perhaps too much. I agree with Doug, probably too much. But this is, listen, nobody likes their commissioner. 2 years ago, Goodell was a bum. Goodell's a pretty good commissioner. By the way, the China mess.
No, listen. Let me sorry to interrupt. First thing is, Goodell, people thought Goodell was going to get fired then. No chance. The guy is an absolute genius. Thursday Night Football, split it up, then Fox buys it. They get even more money for it. He creates these overseas games, which is another football window. Like, everything he's done has turned to gold. Look at the franchise values here. And, of course, they paid for the concussion lawsuit by moving 2 teams to L.A. Roger Goodell wasn't going anywhere. Manfred's not going anywhere because Manfred is smartly making this a more valuable league for their new TV deals. But in managing the day-to-day, listen, Colin, he misplayed this thing badly. And Look, these players are not happy. And now what are you going to do? Are you going to suspend players who throw at some of the Astros when the Astros haven't been suspended themselves? And while I agree with you on the immunity with gangsters, the one thing the government will do is they'll at least threaten, hey, look, if you don't talk, we're going to send you to jail for life. He didn't really make that threat. He could have threatened to suspend the entire operation if they didn't talk. Additionally, it wasn't like it's one mobster. It wasn't like he picked off one guy. He gave the entire team immunity, which I think really doesn't sit well with people because now they're sitting there going like, wait a second. They weren't remorseful. If they would have come to him and been honest before they got immunity. They weren't remorseful even after they got immunity. And oh yeah, by the way, they're not giving up anything they did in 2018 and 2019. And it stands to reason, why would you stop cheating when you won a World Series cheating? Somebody explain that to me. You wouldn't. You wouldn't stop cheating. If you got away with it and won a World Series and then you're in the playoffs again in 2019, you wouldn't stop cheating. You'd keep doing it until you get caught. They got caught. They haven't owned up to 18 or 19. They're not really owning up to 17. And that's, I think, why players are so ticked off.
Tom Brady, I was talking to somebody yesterday on the phone, an executive in the league. And as I was driving to dinner, and he said, listen, man, this Brady stuff, this is about owners. He goes, coaches right now are not looking for 43-year-old immobile quarterbacks. The league's changed. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, they move the pocket every other play. It's easier on your offensive line. Yes. That's the league. And this guy on the phone told me, he said, listen, this is owners. All the rumors are franchises that can't sell tickets. Your thought, though, if Brady did go to an Oakland, to a Charger, to a Tampa, is there a hidden downside to it?
Yes. Colin, have you tried to learn a new language? You know, all your travels to Utah, you ever traveled overseas, you try and I'm gonna learn a new language. It's really hard when you're in your 30s and your 40s. Well, he's got to learn a new language or teach an entire organization his language of football in one short offseason. That's hard to do, right? Every other connecting of the dot as to where a guy goes, generally it's because a coach has been there before, a position coach has been there before. He doesn't have that. Like, the two most viable options are the Chargers. Shane Steichen's been calling plays for about 5 minutes. He just started last year. So could he come and put his system in? Yeah, but he's got to be there every day teaching these guys every subtle nuance to it. And think how hard it's been for Mohamed Sanu. He didn't know where he was supposed to be. Chad Johnson the reason that the Patriots need so many smart players is they need guys to figure out and learn their system where they're supposed to be. Additionally, yes, the Chargers have better skill position players maybe than anybody in the NFL, and that includes the Kansas City Chiefs. They're loaded at skill position, but their line has been bad. That's been a problem. Some of it is Phillip Rivers is immobile as this chair I'm sitting in, and his age. Brady is more mobile than Phillip Rivers. No one is more mobile than Phillip Rivers. But the downside is, if you go to L.A., play for the Chargers, I'm a Charger fan. I'm the only one in L.A. That's what it feels like. They played 16 road games the last 3 years. You want to go to the 7th most important NFL franchise in L.A., or you're going to go to Vegas? And I get John Gruden knows a ton about football, and Tom Brady knows a ton about football, but they never work together. They don't have great skill position guys. Tyrell Williams is more of a 2 than a 1. And oh yeah, by the way, the Raiders have won, once in the last 20 years? As opposed to, they've won every year in New England. Like, every year they win. When he's healthy, they win in New England. His brand is about on the field, not about selling tickets for the Chargers, okay? Not about resurrecting the Raiders for John Gruden. It's about winning and winning championships. The best chance to do so is in New England. And I agree with you. Stephon Diggs to New England makes way too much sense. They're in Cap Hell in Minnesota. Stephon Diggs hates the system they're in. You couldn't find a better landing spot than there. He becomes a 1, and they find a tight end, and the rest, as they say, is history. If I'm New England, I think I got to do that before I meet with Tom Brady in order to say, look, we've gone out and tried to get you Mohamed Sanu and Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon in the past. Now we get you Stephon Diggs coming into his prime. Now will you re-sign with us?
Yeah, it makes too much sense. Minnesota's in, as Doug said, cap space hell. They got to shave people, and Zimmer's going to fight like mad for his defensive guys. He's not going to fight for a receiver. He's got backs, tight ends, receivers. Doug Gottlieb, good seeing you, Duggar. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.